And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 57 of Global Citizens. My name is Calvin. I am the show's host, and I'm also its creator. So, my guest for today is Mr. Romeo Merjudio Jr. So, Romeo is actually a son of a diplomat. So, I actually invited him because we have a really interesting conversation recently in the past. So, we are actually part of a global chat group which has a lot of third culture kids. And the thing is that, well, we try to always talk about all the topic that is available in this world, including from any kind of international issues to even downright how to eat an avocado. So therefore, there was one really unique incident whereby I always see that Romeo is somebody who is really, really positive. Is that way because he used to live in Indonesia, and ironically, myself being a native, actually supposedly, I kind of not experiencing the same thing. So therefore, I actually talk about it, and I found what he has to say is interesting. So I will now hand the floor over to Romeo so that he can talk a little bit more about himself. Bro, the floor is yours. How are you, buddy?
Hey, how's it going, everyone? My name is Romeo Merjudio Jr. I am 27 years old. I am a Filipino American who grew up in 5 countries. I was born in Washington, D.C., and I've lived in Washington, D.C. the first phase from 1993 to 1996. And then after Washington, D.C., I moved to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia from 1996 to 2002. And then after Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, I moved to Manila, Philippines for my second half of elementary from 2002 till 2006. And then after that, my father he got assigned to Ottawa, Canada. From so I moved there from 2006 till early 2012.
All right.
And then right after I graduated high school in Canada, I moved to the Philippines for college. And then when I graduated college, I lived in Indonesia for a total of 7 months. Then after that, I moved back to the United States, back in Washington, D.C., where I'm currently working as a contractor for the World Bank.
All right. Okay, Ro, this is my very first question, and I think you know what's coming. Sorry if you're gonna hate me for this. So, how would you interpret home? And also, is it more relating to the people or the location itself for you?
To be honest with you, it's actually more than just the people and the location. For me, home is like turning moments into memories. So it's not just the people, it's not just the place, but it's also the culture, the food, the language, the surroundings, making it a part of your life, part of a puzzle piece. That's how I define home.
Okay, that's actually the clearest definition of home I've had in a long while. So, thank you. Okay, all right. Okay, I need to apologize in advance, guys. The Wi-Fi in Indonesia has been quite really lagging these days. So I think it's either on my end or Romeo's end. Well, either one of us will look still, but don't worry, we are still trying to do it, and you can still hear our voice at least. So don't worry about it. All right. So for those of you who tune into the show for the very first time or will be tuning in later, so Global Citizens is a platform whereby I invited those who has experienced a multicultural lifestyle, such as Romeo and myself. We are both third culture kids. We grew up abroad outside of our passport country. And of course, for Romeo's case, he also has additionally, he grew up outside of his parents' birth country. And I've also invited, of course, expatriates, nomads, and on occasion also international speakers who, due to the demand of their job, they need to spend time abroad. So why I actually invited such profiles is because I want people to actually see what is it like growing up overseas. Because when you see social media today, you will see that people always present the best part of themselves, the best part of their life. However, the thing is that there are certain issues, and in fact, it can be psychological related that we who grow up abroad experience. So this is as an advocation, so that all of those who needs a voice to be heard, or you need to see if there's anything who has experienced it. This is where the platform that is available for you. And along with that, I also want people to actually understand that sometime when you are in one place doesn't mean the others is the same. Like for example, if whenever I tell people I'm from Indonesia, they will tell me, "Oh, I've been to Bali." My answer to you is screw you. Because Bali is not representative of the entire Indonesia. In fact, it is the furthest from an Indonesian representation due to the fact that it's an expat community ground. So yeah, back to the questions for Romeo. All right. All right, Romeo. So in my over 50 plus episode, I've discovered that TCK tend to be drawn to a career that is a little bit more towards on the artistic side, entrepreneurship, and mission or purpose driven careers. So, what draws you to a career though as a contractor in the World Bank? And I believe you have a degree in hospitality, if I'm not mistaken.
A bachelor's degree in tourism management. So I did in the Philippines for 4 years.
Romeo, sorry, I think there's a bit of a laggy on the Wi-Fi.
Okay, yeah, I can hear you clearly. Can you hear me?
Yep. Okay. Go ahead, Ro.
So, as I was saying, I graduated with a degree of tourism management. So I took it for 4 years in the Philippines. Your question was about how I got the career, right?
Yep.
As a
Correct.
contractor for the World Bank.
Yep.
So how I got that job. So my very first job in America. So I was a contractor for the U.S. government. So I worked there for 7 months, and then I got laid off. So during my laid off time, I was searching for jobs, and then I went on Indeed app and then searched the keyword visa. So I
Okay.
applied for the job. I don't know, like, it just randomly came out of my mind. So that visa travel, and then the actual company itself, it's called CIBT. So it stands for Center of International Business and Travel. So they reached out to me. I had an interview at their headquarters. So it was really a good interview. And then moments after the interview, what happened was they reached out to me on the phone saying that, hey, Romeo, you're really a great guy. I really love the interview, but I believe that there's another opportunity for you. So, an opportunity that's high end, that really matches your resume, your diplomatic background. We have an opening at our World Bank branch. Want me to set up an interview? So I said yes. So I mean, that's like 1 week or 2 weeks after I had an interview. And it was like the same day process. So I spoke with the director, I spoke with the manager, and it was the surroundings itself. You see people from the world, different nationalities, United Nations like environment. So it was pretty awesome. So after my interview, I got a call from the director saying that you're hired, and then we're going to do a check form. It's going to take about 4 weeks. So yeah, I signed the form, and I got it in ever since 2018.
Romeo. Romeo. Oh, my apologies, guys. I think there's a little issue on the Romeo's end. Yeah, just give me a moment. I'll bring him back. Yeah, bro. Yeah, what happened earlier?
Hello?
Yeah, yeah. I'm here. I'm here. Romeo. Ro, can you hear me? Romeo, can you hear me now? Ro, can you hear me? Oh, okay.
Hello.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well, man.
Okay.
Yeah. What
All
happened? I
right.
think
We're
there
up and
was
running again.
yeah, I think there was a connection error on your end earlier. It's okay. It's okay. No worries.
Oh, you too. Oh, okay.
Nah. Yeah. No worries. No worries. It's a small thing. So yeah, you were telling about your experience in the World Bank at that time, where you met even Indonesians and everything.
Yes, yes. There's plenty of Indonesians at the World Bank, plenty of Filipinos too, even the nationalities of the countries I live in. So there's Canadians too, Malaysians. So it brings a smile to my face every time I come.
Oh. Okay, Ro, you're frozen again. Okay. Oh, you're back. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. All right. So, okay, so we will be moving on actually. So, all right. You've lived in 5 countries growing up. Your dad is a diplomat, right?
Yes.
So, at that time,
Yes.
as I mentioned in the introduction, we had a really, really contrasting point of view in how when we mentioned about Indonesia. For one thing is that for me, just to let you guys know, how I first started this channel was because at that time I was suffering from cultural depression. I guess is because I was feeling the drawback from cultural shock. Whereas for Romeo, as at that time when the discussion was, he was a lot more positive about it. So it's pretty ironic considering the fact that I'm actually Indonesian. So this is my question for you in this is that why do you think though that the difference when with how one people can see something as a greener pasture, whereas somebody who is supposedly a local or belong to that area can't see the possibility? Why do you think that we see that one end is has the greener pasture, man?
To be honest with you, my honest opinion about Indonesia, it's like a
Yeah.
cousin of the Philippines. It shares
Uh-huh.
the same struggles, the same problems. It also shares the same good sides, bad sides. They're both archipelago countries.
Yep.
So I don't really view Indonesia as like a perfectly greener pasture country.
Yep.
No,
Okay.
for me, no country is perfect. No country is superior than the other. I always try to find the blessings no matter where I go. There's always positive side to it. And I really love Indonesian people, Indonesian locals. They really remind me a lot of like Filipinos. They're really similar to Filipinos. I love their smiles. They also look similar to Filipinos too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And even
And
some of the
then
food look alike.
yes, and then family oriented. I believe like Filipinos and Indonesians can really like get along a lot. They're really like siblings, if you tell me. So Indonesia is it feels like I'm in the Philippines. So that's my point of view as a Filipino American.
All right. Okay. So, pertaining to what you said, how do you think a young TCK can ingratiate them easier for them to ingratiate themselves in a new environment? We've been there before because for one thing is that I don't have to even mention our teenage years, but the thing is that a lot of us grow up not having a root is that we can't feel we have the need to not want to belong in just one place. We want to feel that we are connected to the world. So for a young TCK at that time, they definitely do not understand it yet. And well, they are still trying to find themselves. And when you are moving from one place to another every single time, it's not easy for them to do so. It's because they thought that, oh, I'm gonna move anyway. Why do I need to form an attachment to people? Because I kind of feel that after a while I just got hurt because of it. So, and of course, there's also the feeling of being the new kid in each and every single institution that you go to, whether it's elementary or even tertiary. So how do you think, though, for a young TCK can easier ingratiate themselves in the new environment?
So, in order to adapt into a new environment, what I usually do is learn the local culture, check out the surroundings, get outside of the bubble,
Yeah.
especially in Indonesia, in Canada. I try to like research on what's good about the surroundings and what's good about happening in a nearby area, if there's any good events. So I really try to be as local as possible and not become like an expat bubble.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm.
Okay. What is your experience itself with reverse culture shock? It can be with your peers or even with your parents, or if you want to, you can even tell us about your experience with your love life. Because the thing is that yeah, uh, I don't really need to mention on that. I've had a TCK dating coach before, and the thing is that that's not a very good memory to mention. So Romeo, yeah, the floor is yours.
Okay. My two countries, the Philippines and the United States. Let me go with the Philippines first. So by the time I started college, my classmates they saw me as a really serious guy, and I wasn't the guy who's like loosening up. So I was just like being observant to everyone. But then eventually they embraced me. So that's where I realized that okay, I gotta be more happy-go-lucky. I gotta be more joyful. So yeah, I embraced myself to them, and also like the term like Indonesian time, Filipino time.
Yeah.
So yeah, really similar. So I was the type of guy who's like really on time. It took me a while to get used to like Filipino time. 15 minutes, 10 minutes late, 30 minutes. And then what else is there? There's so much I learned in the Philippines. I even learned like punchlines, pickup lines. It's it's a learning experience for me to be honest with you. And then well, I was ordering pandesal. So pandesal is like a type of Filipino sweet bread. It's similar to Hawaiian rolls.
Yeah.
So imagine it's kind of like a similar environment to the small streets in Jakarta. Imagine like the really small alleyways, and
Yeah.
then you see like a store there in the middle selling bread, a bake shop. So nobody's falling in line. So you gotta like raise your voice, saying pabile. So bili in Tagalog, Indonesia means to buy. So I had to like raise my voice out loud as possible so that the baker vendor can hear me. It's like there's like dozens of people right beside me. Whoever has the loudest voice gets the bread first. So that's one thing. And then let's see. And then for the United States, oh, this is quite interesting for the United States. So for the United States, recently last year I just got my driver's license.
Congrats.
So yes, so for the last 3 years I was just Ubering. I was just like relying to some of my friends whenever we have like Christian events, and also taking the bus and the train, which runs around in circles. And sometimes like when I take the bus, oh, I'm too early. Oh, I'm too late. So the bus system here is a lot different compared to what I had in Canada. So that's where I realized that okay, Romeo, you gotta have a license. You're not gonna survive Washington D.C. area without getting a license, without getting a point A to point B car. So yeah, I just gotta adjust to it. Now that have a license, have a point A to point B car, I can finally go anywhere, and it reduces the Uber costs. So while I was checking like Uber costs, it was like hundreds of dollars. I'm like, oh man, this could have been on things like grocery or maybe restaurants or maybe like essential stuff. You get what I'm saying, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I got that experience because I in fact created an article because at that time is I actually don't like to drive. Actually, I only learned to drive last year because at that time is because of necessity in order to move around in Jakarta. Since most of my life I spent it in Singapore, so we Singapore is one, if not the most efficient public transport, I guess, in the world. So pretty much it's like I'm like, okay, I don't really need to learn how to drive. I can just take a bus or I can just take a train, and I'm gonna have a comfortable ride, and I'm gonna reach my destination anyway. But yeah, I get what you're coming from because the thing is that like earlier, like when you mentioned in that small corner, I can't go anywhere with a train in that. I can't use a bus. I need to use a car. So yeah, I get where you're coming from. And
Yeah.
ah, that sucks. Okay, all right, Rome. So let me refresh itself here. So you have five countries that you would consider a home. So Canada, the United States, where you're currently based at, Indonesia, Jakarta. Uh, so along with that is Malaysia, and of course your birth country, Philippines, right?
I was born in the United States, but
Oh,
ethnically
okay.
I'm Filipino.
All right. All right. So, okay. So, what do you feel though has been your ultimate blessing as a TCK? And along with that, what key traits or what personality that you feel define yourself from all of these five places?
So being as a TCK myself, it's really been a blessing to have an extended worldview of living in different countries. Of course, like when I tell my TCK life to non TCKs, some of them think that I'm living the life, but that's not true because like most people, they're gonna think, oh, living in different countries is just like having a vacation, but it's not.
Yeah, it's not. It's not.
For me, living in different countries becomes a part of your life, becomes a puzzle piece in your heart. So all the countries I live in becomes a part of me. So my heart feels like partly Filipino, partly American, partly Canadian, partly Malaysian, partly Indonesian. So all the countries that I lived in, like I like try to understand the local culture and to become part of my home.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. All right. So on the opposite end of that, though, have you ever experienced? People like to call it. People will consider it a failure, but on my show we don't use that term. We use it a learning opportunity from the cultural differences. So earlier you mentioned about you trying to be observant about local culture. So however, well, even when observation, sometimes even after you tried your best, you still can screw up, right? I mean, I wouldn't expect that after 50 plus, my show will still have a Wi-Fi connection issue, but this is beyond my control. So for your case is that even after when you already started doing stuff and then you realize, oh my goodness, I think I made some screw up here and there, and that is due to the cultural differences. Is there anything that come up to mind for this?
Okay, I remember my first few years during my second stay in the Philippines.
Yep.
So the reverse culture shock that I experienced was like some locals were copying my accent. So I'm not sure if they were offending me or not. So before I was really the confrontational type of person, but then eventually I had to like let that go because they don't really have any bad intentions. What I really learned that Filipinos, they just love humor. And then like those people who try to copy my accent, I became friends with them. They're really good people that I got to understand them really well, and then their perspective of me became from negative to positive. So it's really a learning experience for me. But yeah, we can't really please everyone. You can only please those who believes in you, who loves you the way you are. Mhm.
Okay. All right. All right then. So I actually now want to ask a little bit on a general landscape in a work culture. Yeah. So how big do you feel though is e-commerce is going to be? So people like to call it in this recent phenomenon as social distancing. I think the more appropriate term is physical distancing, since the thing is that for both of us especially, we are actually our social circle actually grow because
Mhm.
we actually found our community that we actually chat it so often. In fact, we all are more surprised when we found out that in our chat group, hey, there's nobody who's gonna send anything today. It's something that's a lot more surprising to us. So with regards to physical distancing, though, so why I mentioned e-commerce now is because now pretty much a lot of established corporation has finally realized some of their practice is outdated, and that the reality is that we don't now is that even well for now it's already dwindled down, but the fact that at one point in our life that we can actually go out becomes a privilege instead of just a normality. So how big do you feel e-commerce is going to be in the future? And well, with the pending recession too, so it's got that people need to do something in order to earn a living, right? So yeah, bro.
I believe that internet is going to be much more and more of a necessity, especially in the countries that don't really rely on the internet so much. And I believe that there's going to be more remote jobs in the near future, of course, which is like happening right now. And also with like payments, like online shopping, it's going to be the new norm right now. Like I know like in Indonesia they have like the Tokopedia, right?
Yep, Tokopedia, correct.
Yes, I believe that's going to be more and more modernized. I believe it's going to be similar to Amazon. And then
Yeah,
for the jobs itself. So I believe like the unemployment rates. So okay, it's gonna be like a really tight competition when people apply for jobs. So they just gotta keep on applying and applying until a company reaches out to them. It's kind of like American Idol, right? So
yeah.
yeah, they choose the really right candidate. So yeah, that's my view on e-commerce and yeah, digital stuff.
All right. I also need another one of it, an extension of that question is what is your point of view on remote hiring? And the thing is this a main issue, I guess, is that when a company is established, or at least one of the older practice is that, of course, there's always going to be a work culture. But the thing is that remote hiring means that you will have people who do not have the same kind of mindset, do not have the same kind of upbringing as yours. Some of whom can be TCK actually, and well, you're lucky enough if you got them. The thing is because they can chameleon themselves into any environment. But if you remote hire and afterwards you expected those that you hire to have the same level of productivity as your maybe your local or even for yourself, because I noticed that a lot of time entrepreneurs tend to be too passionate about their product or their company to the point that they kind of shield themselves from the reality. So how do you think with regards to this international work environment, what kind of things to take note of that in in order to ensure there's productivity and at the same time there's harmony?
So it's kind of like a regular job interview, but virtually.
Yeah.
And for me, my point of view is all people are different. So there will always be people who love you, they're willing to employ you, and there's also going to be people who don't want to employ you. So yes, I've experienced like cultural differences. Like when I had like internship interviews in the Philippines, some who love me, there's some who didn't. I've also tried some interviews here in America. So yeah, so it's like a mixed bag. So in terms of like virtual interviews itself, so treat it as if it's like a regular interview. Just be yourself and prove like what makes you stand out over other people. Like you gotta like value your skills. You gotta market yourself. Yes, just be you. Like for you, like be Calvin. For me, be Romeo. So like my job interviews, most of the time I usually say my TCK background. So some were interested, some were not. Yeah, be yourself.
Okay, maybe if I can add on to what Romeo said is first is discover yourself, then be yourself. The thing is
Mm-hmm.
that with this, it is actually it's actually the best advice that somebody can give you. The thing is that I think it was last year. At that time, I was in an institution in Singapore called the ITE, which is short for Institute of Technical Education. I have been really impressed with what they do with regards to their hospitality course. The thing is because they actually create a room which is an exact copy of Zalora's retail setting. So I was really impressed with that. And the thing is in the past, IPE has a bad reputation due to the fact that it's people like to make fun of it as the acronym of called "It's the End," when it's not actually. It's because in the past Singaporeans culture tend to focus more on the academic aspect. So one of the lecturer told me is that we always tell our students to be themselves. The thing is that they can't really get there. So I highlighted this that how could you expect them to know who they are? They are 16 years old. Some of them are even younger than that. They need to know who they are, what is it about them, what they like, and what can work for them, and what might not work for them. So I think to discover yourself, then be yourself is the best approach to be accepted. Is because well, if you don't even know who you are, how could others like you for what you are?
Let me add on to this,
Yep.
Calvin. So
Please,
it's like
please.
similar with my field, the tourism management. So
Yep.
I've heard some people from other courses, like other fields, could be like IT, engineering, multimedia, accounting. There are like some people are saying, "Oh, tourism management, that is an easy course." So they're just
No,
jumping into
it is
conclusions.
exhausting. It is exhausting.
No, no course is harder than the other. You cannot compare apples to oranges.
Yeah.
And the tourism management itself. So, like one of my professors, she said that. So she defended to like one of the people who, yeah, who's making like conclusions. So she said, "Do you know that the tourism industry, it's a really broad field, super broad field that you will need tourism industry in this country and also in other countries too. Without tourism, there wouldn't be like generating jobs. You agree?"
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
yeah, they like yeah, they didn't say a word. They apologized, and then we even had some like non-tourism management students attended our classes. So one of them that got really intrigued and really got interested in the program. So yeah, they didn't think of it as an easy course anymore.
Okay. Okay. So this is something that I pick up from my last interview with Mr. Tony Pietra Arjuna. So I mentioned to him that the reality in a in a media world is that unlike a professional athlete like for an athlete is that if people see that you're working hard, that you look like you just spend 5 hours in the gym, like how the late Kobe Bryant used to look like before any actual training. He looked like he will drench in sweat. He already look exhausted. People will praise you for doing that. But in the media world, you have to look people. You can't show the struggle. You can't show the pain that you are experiencing. You are expected to keep a spick and span image. Do you think this is a principle that also applies in the hospitality world?
So, in the hospitality and tourism industry, you gotta be an ambassador. You gotta be diplomatic, and you gotta really dress smart and always be positive. I know it's a really stressful industry. Like where I am at the World Bank Group Travel and Visa section as a contractor. So it's a so I get good clients. I also get bad clients. So what I do at the World Bank Group is I analyze whether people need visas for their overseas travel, and
Yep.
then yeah, it really depends on their nationality. And then there's also like some clients that you'll get to like meet in person. So yeah, dressing smart is really important. You don't want to be dressing like in t-shirt because they're not going to take you seriously,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Correct.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Can you reiterate the last part because I think there was some kind of feedback earlier. Can you reiterate that
Uh,
again?
so what I was trying to say is we gotta like dress smart, it gives an impression for others, which
Yep.
shows professionalism, and
Yep.
also it's also important to use um, really like super casual words, especially on the email, on the phone. You gotta be as positive as possible. If there's any city, you gotta find a solution and not like fight back. So for me, like I just try to be as genuine as I can be, like be Romeo in front of them. Hmm.
All right. Okay. So this is going to be my last question. Okay. It's a twist of my usual. Usually, I would ask my final question is what books or advice would you give to a young TCK who is having a hard time integrating in a new setting or will be entering the workforce? But for today, I actually wanted to add something different. Is that what do you think is TCK going to contribute to this world in the future? Because now, as we know, as we've been discussing throughout this entire broadcast, is that the world is becoming smaller, and there has been a lot of social issues that is on the news every day because of ethnicity and because of how people has cling on to what a culture that was established from the past that now currently is well apparently it's not working anymore. So yeah, Romeo.
And TCKs contribute to the world. So as
Yes.
I mentioned earlier, we as TCKs worldview, it's really to share that with others. There are some people who are just conclusions that, oh, this is that, which is not true. So it's really good to be contributing about your insights about this country and that, educating them in a really humble way, and also the case can they can really be like good ambassadors in like national organizations such as the United Nations, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund. They can really be good ambassadors there. They can also work in diplomatic missions, in foreign posts. Yes, there's so many TCK last week, and TCKs they, it becomes a part of them. So like they're really like patient towards others, really observant. So yeah, TCKs really have potential in this world. Just like Barack Obama, right?
Yeah.
If he can be successful, we can all be successful in this world. Agree?
Yep. Agreed. Agreed. And in fact, it is actually due to the fact that I think one of the most, okay, this is something that I've been advocating for a while, is because a lot of times, as I mentioned, TCKs tend to experience difficulty growing up, but as an adult, it will be the ultimate blessing you can have, because now you realize, I interpret TCK in two ways. Is because I've never felt a sense of belonging in both my homes. I seek for a third one. And the last one is because I see the world in a third person point of view. I see it from the outside. I understand it from the perspective that it's not in sync with everyone. But as a result, I'm able to advise people on what is the deficiency, what we can improve on. So I feel that for a younger TCK who is watching this, it is going to be tough when you are younger, but as an adult, it is going to be the ultimate blessing. It's because you are in a position whereby you are know and you can see what everybody is doing, what they could be experiencing, and you can relate to them. So I think this is something that I feel TCK should and could add to the world. Okay. Ro, anything you want to add on to that or anything?
For TCKs, be you, you, always be weird, and always think that all the countries that you live in, all the blessing. Always think of the positive side. Positivity beats negativity.
Yes.
And then, yes, there will always be like friends who will love you. There's also going to be like others who will like dislike us. So for me as a TCK, I always try to find the positivity in this world. So yeah, I know you mentioned about the TCK, but I would really recommend about TCK growing up among worlds.
Yep.
And then
Our Bible.
if I
Yeah.
and then for like a TCK movie, I would really recommend Obama Anak Menteng. It's about Obama growing up when he was a kid in Indonesia.
Yeah.
And it also touches on like cultural differences. It's a really good movie. If you get a chance to watch it, it's really good and inspiring.
All right. Yeah. Okay. So that is actually all the questions I've had. So, Romeo, is there anything you want to add on to that?
Nothing really.
All right. Okay. Yeah. So for those of you I actually recently created a YouTube channel whereby it has hosted the first 10 episode of my show. In the past, I never really created a YouTube in the past, is because, well, I don't want this to be a commercialization, because, as I mentioned, when I first started this show, it was because I was feeling the drawback of culture shock. I want to be able to feel to be connected to the world, and this is why I created this at the first place. So, however, the thing is that, well, with 50 episodes, sometimes people do not know which one is which, and, well, they need to scroll down to the bottom. So I think it's easier if I have a YouTube channel that you guys can just directly access it. So it's also within the same name as my current show, Global Citizens, which instead of a CI, I use a CK, which is actually my initial. So if you do want to check out my past episodes, please go through my YouTube channel. And other than that, yeah, there's also a referral code for Airbnb and a Canva, which I actually use in order to create the title card. So if you guys are ever interested to try out podcasting, or you guys might need graphics or something else, do use Canva. They have been really beneficial for a lot of podcasters. And of course, there's the Airbnb travel credits. I know you guys can use it now, but hey, uh, you guys can use it eventually. So other than that, I think that's everything I need to say. So thanks so much, Ro, for coming.
Thank you very much, Calvin.
Romeo, you're frozen again. Romeo?
Okay. Thank you very much, Calvin, for your time.
Yeah.
Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yep, I can hear you very well.
Okay, I
I
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you very well. Okay. Huh. Yeah. Not to worry, not to worry. I hear the last part. I hear the last part. Okay. So with that, I need to send a thank you to Ben, who actually left a thumbs up. And Corinne, I actually apologies beforehand because I deleted the earlier announcement. However, I do see all the people that actually sent a thumbs up and are interested to watch the show. This will be on replay on my Facebook wall. It will also be
Awesome.
on Romeo's page and of course on my Global Citizens page and any of the social media that I listed on the title card. And of course for your friends and family who are eager to watch this because I see a lot of the positive comments. So yeah, and with that, that's the end of Global Citizens, episode 57, looking positively from every perspective. And with that, have a good day, everyone,
Have a
and
good
see ya.
day. See you.